calling everybody stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The roll call, please.
Mr. Arcuri?
Here.
Mr. Bova?
Here.
Mr. Bronski?
Here.
Mr. Core?
Yes.
Mr. Coyne? Mr. D'Elia?
Here.
Mr. Ford?
Here.
Mr. Lewis? Mr. Karam?
Here.
Mr. Matolo?
Here.
Ms. Sesney? Here. And Mr. Wallace?
Thank you. You have the June 17, 2019 draft minutes in your packet. Is there a motion to approve? Thank you. Any corrections, deletions, additions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. You all have at your spot, seat, the next three items regarding various policies. Who's trying to go do this for us, or do you mind, Jim?
Yeah, Jim. We, following the IBM recommendations for IT internet security updates, we put together these three policies.
Jim, can you speak up just a little?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Put together these three policies, information security policy, network infrastructure security policy, and remote access policy, prepared by Tri-Delta in conjunction with IBM. We brought these to our committee last Wednesday, and approved, I assume, by the committee, and I'll bring them forward to the board for approval.
Does your committee recommend approval?
Yes, we reviewed and made some changes, minor changes, but basically, there was a password change to be made and something about personal use, but they were sent out to everybody, no one changed anything, so yes, they were.
Great. Any questions or comments? A motion to approve? Thank you, Frank. For a second. Any further discussion regarding these policies? We'll approve all of them in this motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. We have a resolution in the resolution section of our packet. Award of contract, a construction contract. You gonna take this one?
I will take this one, Mr. Chairman. In the last week's Wednesday Capital Projects Committee meeting, we discussed the award of a construction contract for the stone mill concrete tank. It's a tank that's been in our plans for a number of years. The committee did reach a consensus to bring it to the full board. We had two bidders. We advertised in accordance with our procurement requirements for a project of this size. We did have two bidders, and there's really only three contractors in the entire U.S. that are qualified for this kind of work. And the low quote was by DN Tank Corp. out of Wakefield, Mass. They've done 3 recently and 5 over the years for us. Have done a very good job. And they were low at $2,134,760. We have completed all the approvals required for the project. We did get a letter of recommendation from our consultant who verified financial information and other items that we required in the specifications. The schedule for this is awarded tonight. Some of the site work and piping work would be done this fall, allowed to stabilize during the winter. And the actual tank will be constructed as soon as they can get back on the site next spring and be complete and ready for service in August. At the same time, our engineering department here is designing the pipeline up Snow Hill Road to supply the tank. By the time the tank is ready for water, we'll have that pipeline in as well. We'll be bringing that before the board in a couple of months. So.
Will you be starting that pipeline this year then?
Possibly, if the weather's good, we can do that through the winter. We're going to definitely bid it. We'd like to have that before the board, probably in October. By then, right now, there's a lot of work out there. So contractors are very busy. But by then, both the contractor availability and if the weather cooperates, we could get it in. It wouldn't be a problem to do it even next spring. We'll still make it in time by the time the tank is ready for the water.
So water will actually go live then by a year from now?
July, August timeframe, yeah.
You have an engineering estimate on the cost for the piping?
Piping's about $400,000 just in Snow Hill Road, and that's subject of our coming capital plan.
Does that include the other sections down below?
No, actually, there's 3 other spots that
Right.
are also part of that plan. They're closing off either loops or replacing small sections within the town closer to, Route 12 Paris Road, so we can deliver the water over.
So that $400,000 does not include?
No, just that one. Those are another few $100,000. And mentioned at our capital meeting that we're now working on the upcoming capital improvement program, and we're utilizing both bond monies freed up by some grants we received and excess bond reserve funds that are becoming available. And that's the long list of projects. We're actually advancing some of them that would have been budgeted next year, can be budgeted out of those.
Did we use this company in the past to build other?
Oh yeah, the most recent project was the 10 million gallon Deerfield tank. Before that, the Clearwell at the water treatment plant and the Marcy tank.
And this company, they're out of Massachusetts?
They are.
You might want to just correct, it says New York.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, we'll get that.
What does,
Wakefield, Mass.
do they also do the piping for us?
No, they will do just the piping in the immediate vicinity of the tank. They come out to basically a underground control vault, and then go to the property line where our.
Well, I mean, I should ask, will they also bid to install the new piping, or is that separate?
No, that would be more of a piping contractor. These companies specialize in these precast concrete tanks, the 2 that are mentioned here. They also did the West Frankfurt tank back in 1976.
All the easements and ownerships are done?
Yep.
It's a long time coming. Anything else for Dick on this? Someone care to move the rest? Dave, thank you. Rocco, second.
With the correction on this one.
Yep.
We tried to move them to New York, but they're still in Massachusetts.
Most of the work will be done by New York employees.
Any further discussion regarding that resolution the resolution as presented with the correction? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Dick. The quarterly investment statement. Gary?
Dick's not here, he asked me to just present it, but you have the quarterly investment statement.
Jim's not here?
Dick's.
Yeah, Dick's
here.
right there.
There's nothing about
Dick's-
that.
He's a ghost. I don't know. I wasn't even supposed to be here today. Yeah. In any event, any questions on the statement of investments? And I'll move it.
The second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Do you have anything on the financials first, Cindy or Rocco?
No, Rocco's probably gone through it also.
It's really no issue.
Did he have anything for us? Do you know?
No, it would have been in here.
Great.
On page 1, pretty much.
And Dick has a written report regarding the capital projects committee's meeting last week, and we did the resolution. Pat?
We had one additional issue that came out of the capital committee,
Oh,
which we can handle as a capital report or do it as a
let's just
report,
do it
either way.
now.
So one issue that was discussed also at the capital committee meeting was that the town of New Hartford has made a request to us for a waiver of our rules and regulations. General background is that, and some of you may know, the store that was Gander Mountain at the Orchard Shopping Center closed. The town has purchased that building. They've moved their town offices into that building, including public safety. So one of the things that they are negotiating with the owner and developer of the area there is that they want to take over the 2 main roads that lead in and out. They want to be able to clear them, plow them, make sure that they have good access for their public safety in and out of the building and such. So in order to do that, the whole entire area got subdivided into smaller parcels. Initially, when it was all one parcel, they had a water service coming in and then it branched off and was serving 5 or 6 buildings. Under our rules and regulations, each individual parcel is supposed to have frontage on a water main and its own service. So barring anything else, they would have to tear the roads up inside the shopping center, extend the water mains and run separate services to these buildings. Not only would it be costly, but it would be tearing up some roads that are about to become town roads that the town would be plowing. So what they've asked is that the services that are in place, that have been in place, that would have been perfectly fine had the area not been subdivided on paper. They would like to allow that to stay in place with the caveat that if any leak develops, any maintenance that has to go on those lines, those are all considered private lines, and the developer and or the owners of those parcels have to maintain them themselves. We made it very clear that we're not about to go chasing down leaks in the middle of parking lots and digging stuff up and buying any liability associated with it. The developer has given us a letter stating that in fact they would take over that responsibility. And so what we're asking at this point is, as a favor to the town of New Hartford, that we allow those services to remain in place as is, and that they assume the liability for that and they remain private services. The only difference is they wouldn't have their individual connections to, an extended water main. But again, this was a request from the town. We thought it was a reasonable request to accommodate them moving into those new buildings and taking over those roads. So what it would require is essentially a waiver of our rules for that one requirement. And Ellis and Bruce, you were there at the same meeting.
Yeah, we recommend the board approve it. There is a master meter that feeds these, I think there's 4 or 5 other businesses, which are also metered. This developer, I guess, runs around and takes care of all that with them. The authority really has no skin in this because, we're not taking over the lines, and we have the ultimate control over the master meter. So if there are leaks and they back down on finding the leaks or whatever, we turn the water off.
Does each line have its own valves? If they get a leak on one building, can they isolate that?
I don't know, that's their problem.
Whatever's in place now is what's been in place since the
For
place
10 years,
10 or 12 years or
the
whatever it
ordinance was developed.
I think there's
So,
some,
but for the subdivision, we wouldn't even be talking about
I
this.
think there are some isolation valves on branches, but I don't know how many, and I'm aware, Dick, I don't know if you're aware of any. We don't really have the full design of where the services are, but it's been their responsibility all along, and it's going to remain their responsibility.
So nothing really changes.
No, nothing's
Not
changed.
really, other than the fact that on paper it's been subdivided into different
Once they
owners.
subdivided it, we would have to go in and put in other controls. So I'm saying, let's leave the controls as
The
they are.
subdivision lines are in the middle of the parking lots and all over. It's not like typical subdivision, that's for sure.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, David. Thanks. Any other questions on it? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thank you, regular report.
Now back to my report, thank you very much. I just wanted to mention too that the 3 policies we just passed for information technology are going to be among a series of other policies. The Public Authorities Reform Act, which unfortunately captures us, even though we're a local authority, requires that periodically we bring all of our policies back to the board for review and reaffirmation. So over the next bunch of meetings, probably from now until next March, we'll be bringing a handful of policies back just so we don't inundate you with the 13 or 14 that we've identified, possibly more as we go through even more IT development. So in the works right now, our controller, Jim, who's not here tonight, has sent out to employees, to our department heads for review, any recommended changes before we send it out to the board to take a look at our travel policy, for example, disposal of assets, procurement policy. We're looking at dollar numbers to see if thresholds, maybe have changed with inflation over time, et cetera. But there's a series of policies that we'll be bringing back to the board for review because it is required by the state at this point. So just be on the lookout for those. As I said, we'll send them out, a couple at a time so we don't bury the board with a whole bunch.
Doesn't our audit require that we do that on an annual basis to review policy?
Our audit does have a series of policies that meet the annual, but bottom line, the board of directors has about 5 legal responsibilities. One of them is approve policies.
Right.
So we should be annually reviewing these policies anyways.
And some of them may not change at all. There's a few that we might want to recommend.
There probably are going to be some policies that are just board required for approval, but are there any that are just, that senior management can just approve, or that they all have to go through this?
These are the policies that the board needs to approve.
Right.
Because the board's deciding what the staff can do or not, and that's in what direction, like the procurement policy.
Right.
sets the limits as to what's.
Right, but I'm asking, are there policies that are written that don't have to be approved by this board?
No policy.
Just procedure. We have internal administrative procedures for a variety of things that don't come to the board. These are strictly board-level policies that have already been passed by the board, but need to be renewed by the board.
He did the biggest one, which was the regulatory book.
Well, the law gives a list
Yeah.
besides that.
So anyway, just a heads up, be on the lookout for those. Our budget packets have been sent out to our departments. It is budget season, as you may know. We are required to pass a budget no later than 60 days prior to the start of the next fiscal year. So if you back up from January 1, we have to have a budget approved by the end of October.
2%.
Oh, I wasn't sure we were getting it.
I'm just giving
Can
you,
we at least get the
just
responses,
giving you
Bruce?
advance notice.
All right, hey, forget your packets. We've already decided it. So,
I thought you
the
were
packets
saying
are out to
victory.
departments. Departmental requests will be coming in over the next few weeks. Jim and I have a schedule set from 4 weeks from now to meet with each department and review their requests. Once we see what we're working with and how we have to pare it down to get to whatever level is appropriate. Actually, I will say all of our departments are very reasonable with their requests. They're very responsible. There's very little cutting really that we ever have to do. But we'll be bringing the draft budget to the board, and we're targeting a budget workshop for mid-September. The normal September board meeting would be Monday the 16th. I'll talk to the chairman to see if we want to turn that into a budget workshop or do something separately. I guess it depends what we're going to have for a remaining agenda. But if we can do it at the same time rather than asking people to come in twice, that's probably preferable. So the last thing I'll just mention real quickly is the Ilion project is still moving ahead. Dick and Phil and I will be having a meeting in the State Building this Friday just to sort of catch up on things. But a lot of activity has been going on. The Village of Ilion has funds to run the main they need to install from their wells up to their treatment plant, which will become part of the larger project if it all goes through. That's out to bid right now. They expect to complete that by December. In the meantime, they've also started the seeker analysis, State Environmental Quality Review for phase 1 of their distribution system improvements. So they're moving ahead with that. In the meantime, towns such as Schuyler and Herkimer are still in the process of surveying residents to see who might want to be part of new districts to be formed. Phil and his team have been doing sampling down at the Ilion Reservoir, also processing some samples for residents on wells, both in Herkimer and Schuyler. I don't want to say it this way, I almost said, in the hope of finding contamination, we'll get more funding from the state, but nobody hopes for contamination, obviously. So far, the samples have been clean, right, Phil?
No.
Oh, okay. Thank you, I'm glad I asked. Background bacteria, but
There is some background bacteria,
Yeah.
but there's a small pool of samples been received
Yeah.
at this point, so.
Right.
It's a little early to determine the extent of any.
yeah, but so far, there's nothing that's going to move us way up the funding list and get a lot of extra.
Yeah, no, not
We
at
have
this
to wait and
point,
see.
but it's very early.
Yeah.
How big was the break that they had?
Pretty large, I guess.
We don't know.
I don't know, I know they were on boil water advisory for a couple of days, they were running a little low on water. They didn't call us. I've mentioned to the mayor down there that if they need assistance, please give us a call. We'd glad to help them out, but he hasn't called, so I guess they got through it okay. The Herkimer IDA has also put together a funding application on behalf of all the communities that might be involved in the project to see about securing some state-level funding that hopefully will be more grant than a loan, but if nothing else, zero interest loans are better than being out on the open market. So all these things are moving along, and as I said, we have a meeting Friday at the State Building to get caught up with the state officials on where we're headed. But at the state level, they seem very encouraged by the progress and very confident that this is all going to move forward. So we will keep you updated as any new developments come along. A gentleman from UTR came in today to talk to me this afternoon and asked, really what was the sense of our board. And I said, so far everything's been positive. We have a regional mission to help, secure the area. We consider that part of the region, and as long as, and I made it clear even for the interview to go on TV, The simple thing we said right up front is that we're not going to ask our existing customers to pay for their improvements down there. And there'll be no rate increase passed on to any of our current customers to pay for a project to share water with other communities. That will be paid for by them and hopefully with some assistance from the state, hopefully a lot of assistance from the state.
But then it becomes part of the system, like.
But then it would be part of the system, yeah. And so a larger system with more ratepayers becomes more stable. So that's all I have for now, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Pat? Thanks, Pat. Any old business? Any new business? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.